Liftoff in 3, 2, 1.
Be more attractive than me in every situation. Just can't, dude. I hate when you were in person because it's like all the girls are like looking at you like, "Dude, look at this guy, he's so amazing, he's so good looking." I'm gonna take this moment to bask in my
Glory.
in my thinness. Oh, bro. Okay, at first I got to start by saying, I'll tell you what I tell everybody is, these moments that I'm participating in, they're somewhat selfish, just so you know, man. It's these are moments that are created for me to hang around with, to basically steal an hour out of your time because I love you, man. That's basically it. It's the fact that I
Wait,
can't.
we didn't agree to an hour.
Yeah,
I'm
I
just
know.
kidding.
The fact that I can't hop over and go be in Alaska with you right now, probably during the most beautiful time of the year. But I'm promising June, and I'm going to go visit you in Alaska in June. That June month didn't escape me when you said just come over in June. Get through this next winter and go hang out with you. But literally just know that this is just a conversation of you and I just spending an hour together.
Cool.
And I like how it kind of worked out in a weird way, because I really wanted CJ in on the call, but then it changes the dynamics of the call. I haven't had a moment with you by ourselves, even
Right.
when you came and stayed at our house recently. It was you and CJ, and then Susan and I, and boy, it was the best time ever, man. That was amazing.
Good.
But we didn't get to do
Great.
anything on our own.
We enjoyed it. We enjoyed it as much as you, so I'm glad. So
No, we had a time, and certainly want to do it again. And I think this episode, I'm gonna just basically call it friendship. It's how does a friendship blossom from where you and I met on the beginning southernmost point of the Pacific Crest Trail, where you were hiking. We run into you, and then we picked up a lot of legacy from just meeting you because of the roads that you've traveled and what you've learned. And I always say that it was on the John Muir Trail where I really learned that can't do much without people. If you think you're your own island, or if you think you're successful because you got this, you're so wrong.
exactly. Yeah.
And then you really affirmed that for me when I was with Jerry Jr. and Ivan, and we're kind of out there winging it, and then the conditions started to turn, and it became a pretty messy hike for us, and we actually ended. You reminded me that we ended calling it quits, and you're right, we did call it, because it was getting a little hairy out there. But one thing that I knew right away when I met you was, God, this guy is got something different. He's utterly experienced at a lot of things outdoor, but experience is so much more than that. Also experience in how to develop a relationship with someone, and then your type of generosity lent itself to, hey man, I live in Napa. Can you come over to my house and hang out for a few days? And then you followed through and you did that. And this is 10 years ago. You reminded me that it's been like 10 years.
Yeah.
And that just kind of, and we've stayed connected. We've met up in Maui, because you go there frequently, as we do. And we're also fortunate to be able to do those things. But I just find it fascinating that here we are, and now I get to steal an hour. No, this goes as long as you and I feel like talking, and then when we run out, we're done. But yeah, and then on this last trip when you were here, this podcast is called the Body Mind Index for a reason, is because of that that whole journey of mine, trying to figure out how to shed some of this weight so I can do more of the things that I really enjoy doing, which are those outdoor things. And then I continue to build and develop on that. The other day you went and you ran without much training. I'm going to have to imagine you went and ran an insane.
Yeah.
I want
No,
you to
yeah,
talk-
zero. Really, for something like that, I had zero training. I just, but your mind goes back to, as you get older, as we get older, we realize, that we think we can do a lot more than we really can. But yet on the same side of that, I think that I call it old man strength. We still have that to our advantage. And my daughter, who is 34, who ran the race, who really, she's pretty conniving, and she got me to do the race without really asking me, just kind of threw it out there, knowing that, Dad, you're a guide hunter, and you used to do all this type of thing with 100 pounds on your back. And yeah, back in 12 years ago, it was not a problem. But your mind says, okay, well, I'm going to do this. And your mind doesn't, I think at this level of maturity in our lives, that your mind is your strongest and can be your weakest link. And if you let your mind be your weakest link, it will be. But it also can be your strongest link. And it was for me that day in the race. I had you can't prepare. I signed up on Thursday for a race on Saturday. So you don't want to do anything between Saturday and Thursday and Saturday. And but there was a cutoff point. What made this race so challenging for me, and I've never done I think I ran a 5K when I was 25 or something with a buddy. So I've never done any kind of race, nothing of competition, I should say, like this. And so, but this particular race had a cutoff point at 50 minutes. If you didn't make it 2.2 miles, which was 2,200 feet of elevation in 50 minutes, it's go home. Don't bother continuing the race, because you're not going to make it. And so it isn't about completing the race as much as it is making this cutoff point. So I think that's where, I say old man strength and mind comes into play. It's like, there's nothing that's going to keep me from stopping to get that 50-minute mark. And I finished there in 46 minutes. So I made that mark. Therefore, I get to continue the race. You take a breather and you keep going. But
what was the distance of the entire race and the elevation that you picked up? Because for anybody that may be listening to this, what are the details on the race, and where in the world were you? And this was trail running, and I saw the picture.
Yes,
So it was
legit. Trail running. We had it's at Alyeska Ski Resort. It's called the Cirque Series. There's 9 or 10 different, I'm not sure the number, but at least 10 different races around the US they're all done at different ski resorts. And it's put on by On, which is a Swiss company that makes tennis shoes or footwear. And there's one race in Switzerland also. So of the Cirque series, the 10 or 11 that's in the series, that this Alyeska ski resort, it's just located just south of Anchorage, Alaska. And it's the hardest of all the Cirque series, according to everyone who's run the series. Little did I know that. It became a mental thing for myself to say, am I still able to do something at this capacity at 56 years old? And so that was, for me, that was the challenge. It was really just finishing the race. And it's incredibly steep. And it's incredibly steep, obviously, going up, and you get the same elevation coming down, which the down part is much harder, much more difficult than the up portion for me, because it was just through a large portion is through the trees, through the green, and it's just very slippery. And I'm, of course, there's 540 racers, and so there's about 400 racers ahead of me that's used the trail, and it's just become super slippery. And so you're so fatigued for the last 2.5 hours. The last 30 minutes, took me 3 hours to finish the 6.2 mile race, and which my daughter's, she did a time trial on the Wednesday prior to me signing up, and she did it in 3.5 for her time trial for just that. And I thought, wow, if I could do it at 4, I was going to be really happy. But then, of course, she kicked it up a notch, and we all do when we're in competition. And she finished in 2.5 hours, and I finished in 3 hours. So she beat me by a half hour. But it's not so bad that your daughter beat you, but the youngest person in the race was 6 years old, and he beat me.
But here's what I find super fascinating about this is, again, because I know what you've done before, and I had the amazing privilege to go out trail running with you. I just find that, and we got to do it a couple of times, right? I mean, I thought that was so cool. I just find that muscle memory must be something, right? Because, going back to who you are and what you've done, and I know, well, we've had an opportunity to talk about probably only scrapes the surface with you, because I think you're such a super Renaissance person. You're a pilot, you're a bush pilot on top of that flies really complex situations. You also do the seaplanes. You own planes, you own a mechanic shop that takes care of planes. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Like what you've said, you've taken people into very complex territory to go hunting. And not only have you done that, you've also helped them get the trophies, or get the packs out of there. And you're talking about carrying an insane amount of weight on yourself and the shape that you have to stay in. So it doesn't surprise me that you're at my house, we're feeding you, but you and CJ are drinking wine because you're in the Napa Valley, you're having this. You wake up the next day and you go bust out a 4 or 5 mile trail run like if it was nothing, like nothing. And I'm just going, my mind just can't wrap itself around that, because I've had to do so much to even get towards a place where I can even do an activity like that. It's like your body just picks it up wherever it is that left off. I mean, it's just bizarre.
Yeah, I really contribute. I don't take any credit. I really don't. I just say that, you have to stay in shape, and I really haven't done as good a job as I wished I have. Like we all say, right? We wish we were in better shape. And but I am very, very, I feel very blessed to I look at my siblings, and I don't know why some people have bodies and shapes the way they do, and I have body and shape the way I am. It's just something that's what I really, in my mind, I can't take credit for my mind because I didn't create it. And so I feel like that all of the things that you said, yes, accomplishments in life, becoming a bush pilot, flying in Alaska extreme weather is part of it's the most, and it's still the I guess it's the top 1 or 2 of the most deadliest careers that there are. And we lose people frequently in Alaska, and I've lost acquaintances already this year who have died in an airplane. So that, but it's like a fisherman that goes to sea. It's just part of the equation. And but getting to know you on the Pacific Crest Trail was it was just a pleasure, because I met this guy. Again, here we're doing something that is off the scale. Was hoping to get 200 miles, and we made it 110, and we cut our trip short also. And but what a great thing to meet someone along and to be metaphorical along all of our paths in life. And we actually met on a path, on a trail. So that it was, but it, like you started to touch on it, where the relationships that we have in our lives, that we feel somewhat pompous, maybe arrogant, because we think we're this, we think we're that, but really truly we're nobody. We're all here for one reason, is to die. We don't get out of here alive. And so if you can't make your journey along the way the most incredible journey, then now that's up to you, and to make that trail and to make that path, because we all have our path. We could choose left or right at the Y. There's always a Y in the road, and which way do you go? And I think that if we always lend tolerance to help others and to give whatever talents we have. You have talents, I have talents, and that's just maybe not to be spiritual, but God-given or whatever, our talents, if we don't use them, and we don't pass them on, then we're the ones missing out on the blessing, not the person who we're giving it to. That's how I see it. The blessing in life is to be able to share, and meeting you and Susan and your son Jerry along the way, and the path that it's led to, like you said, go to Maui and all these experiences that you don't know. It's almost like a bank account. If you don't if you don't put any money in the bank account, you're not going to get anything back. And I think that's how life is. If you don't put anything into it, you're not getting anything back. But if you put something in, you invest in people that are around you. It's a great experience, and you are the one missing out if you don't invest. Is what I'm saying.
I've heard you say, I've heard you talk a lot about your dad. I have to suspect that your dad is somewhat like you. It sounds like you have a really cool relationship with your dad.
Yes.
I'm
Yep.
curious if he carries that levity that you seem to carry, because you carry, yeah, you do practice what you preach. You are literally what you're saying. You really understand that this is a short blip in time. And I do see you as a guy that embraces and loves every relationship along the way. And you truly care about your friends, and when your friends are hurting, you're hurting. And
Yes.
you also, we've talked about the fact that you're a fixer. You wanna help
Yeah.
fix it.
Yes.
But is your dad like you in any way?
We are very similar. My dad, of course, was a pastor, so I did grow up in a very religious home. My dad being a pastor his whole life, me being a preacher's kid. You live in a fishbowl, and it's just that's ancient history now when you're a kid. But my dad's we're different in many ways, but in many ways we are very similar. My grandfather, his dad, my was much like myself also, and one of the things that I'll never forget, very few things that my grandfather said. I was young when he passed, younger, but I remember this so vividly. He told me, he says, he says, in life, he says, life is like holding on to a rope. He says, if you hold on to a rope really tight in your hand, really tight, he says, if someone comes up behind you and jerks the rope out, it's going to hurt. He says, but if you hold that rope loosely, he says, it doesn't hurt when it gets taken away. And I think that metaphorically has had such an impact on my life, because as now we're into grandchildren, but when we have kids and they're small, and a century ago it seems like when our kids were small, but you look at these precious things as gifts that you've been given, and it's like, wow. And you never know. My twin daughter, I have twins that are now 29, and my oldest daughter's 34, and my youngest daughter, at 13 months old, she had a febrile seizure, and I'm thinking, wow, I could lose this 13-month-old child. But that came back to me that there's nothing I can do. I am at the hands of God or the doctors or whoever's going to take care of this human being. And that thought came to me at that moment, that you can't hold on to something too tightly, because the tighter you hold on to it, the more it hurts when it's gone. And that really, truly has been my complete direction in life. And my wife, CJ, you met CJ. She really doesn't. She doesn't understand why I don't lock the doors.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. I mean, the whole neighborhood. We live in a great neighborhood. I think it's the best neighborhood on earth. But I have 45 other pilots that are in this neighborhood. It's a flying community. You actually taxi your airplane down the road to the airstrip, and there's airplanes on the road along with school buses and cars. It's really bizarre for most of the rest of the world, but that's how we operate. But of the 45 people, I know 40 of them fairly well and intimately, and I could call any of them up and say, hey, I'm really stuck. I have a problem. And they're gonna be there if they're available. And I don't think that exists in many communities around the world. And so my door is always open. And my door is never locked. And I told that, in fact, we went away for the weekend to visit her dad down in Seattle and Seafair. And I had a guy come up from North Dakota, and I says, yeah, I says, absolutely. We have a little efficiency apartment, and it's kind of like yours, only it's in a hangar. I said, yeah, just help yourself, but don't lock the door because I don't know where the key is. if you lock the door, we're both going to be locked out. But that's and you know, at times in life, yes, people take advantage of generosity, but that's just humans. And but still, in all, if you don't, there's an airplane going by. Hold on.
That's awesome.
If you hold on to things, I think that's just the way. I'm not saying everyone needs to live that way. I'm just saying the way my philosophy in life has been that I just try not to hold on too tight, because when it is if you holding on very tight and it's jerked out of your hand, it hurts way worse. And so we are here for a short time, as we've discussed. And so that's been my biggest motivator in life, is to live and give back what I have. And it's been a great blessing, and I would not change anything.
Well, you and I are the same age. I think I'm a little older. I turned 57 in November. So we're both kids of 1966, I think.
Yes.
And I just recently have somewhat connected with that hold on loosely metaphor. And it literally, you just reminded me of when Jerry Jr. at 2 months old was going in for open heart surgery. And, you know, a lot of times I say that I'm not religious, or I've said before that I don't believe in God, and I say things that are from my rational side of the brain. But the more I evaluate, the more I think I'm full of shit, because you know, when Jerry was going in for that surgery, I always say that if I ever prayed with faith, that was the time. And I always say somebody listened. And for that reason, Jerry is a thriving, amazing man that he is now, with these amazing grandkids that he's given me and all that. So it just helps me. And one thing rationally I've also understood that people that have a connection to God, whatever that happens to be for them, but
Right.
people that have a connection with God live a better existence. They get to live a calmer, more fulfilled existence because they are connected to it.
Right.
And I'm really starting to come to terms with that, and that's been amazing. And again, I find it serendipitous that I get to, when you were at my house the other day, I learned that you were a pastor's son and that you've been so involved in.
And I actually pastored for 5 years myself. I went to
I didn't want
seminary.
to say it. I'll let you say it, but yeah, but I knew you did that. And you know, my oldest son, you know, is a deacon at a church, and you know, super involved, and I'm able to let go. I'm starting to be able to let go of that rational story that I keep saying to myself, that if I can't see it, it doesn't exist.
Right.
Because I think that's been a limited belief of mine for a long, long time, which keeps me hanging on to things so tightly that has done the opposite of served me well. So
Yeah, and I the reason, and again, you know, I think differently than most people. It doesn't make me better. It just makes me more weird, I think. But
yeah.
one of the reasons that I wanted to be a pastor was totally for most different than most maybe pastors who go through. And I did it a short time, felt like probably just wasn't what was in the cards for me long term, but I enjoyed the time, the 5 years that I spent as a pastor at a church in Pennsylvania. But it was for the reason that I grew up as a pastor's kid, as a preacher's kid, and I felt like there's something that everyone misses. And the only reason why I wanted to do that was to share the fact that I felt like it was very, very religious, and I hate religion. I'm just adamantly opposed to religion. And I think that's the whole thing that people get hung up on, is the fact of religion. And my motivating factor to be a pastor was to communicate the fact that it is not about religion, and it is not at all about that. It is about a relationship, and your relationship is up to you. And be damned, excuse that phrase, but be damned if someone else is going to tell me how my relationship with God is going to be. And that was my communication to anyone who would listen, is that no, your relationship is very, very unique. And I said, there's a book called one of the very, I'm not a big reader. I wish I was. I just don't have so much time. But the only book that I've read twice, listened to twice, is a book called The Shack. And it's an incredible book. There's a movie made about it. But in that book, there was a very, very key point that emphasizes what I feel has been my belief, I should say. And there's a point in there where this guy is looking at this whole valley amongst us, and he says, he says, if you could see in color hues, so you and I, much like we're sitting here today, if you give off a color and I give off a color, those two colors together today at this very moment in time can never be matched. No two people that you sit down with can match the same color, the experience, the wavelength that we are giving off to each other because we're communicating.
Frequency.
And I said that is exactly how your relationship with God needs to be, because no one else, you and God, is the only person that you can have that same color hue with. So who in the world can tell me how my relationship with God needs to be? It'd be like someone coming in the room saying, you and Jerry, you need to adjust your relationship here. No, that doesn't exist. And that became so cool to me. It was such a great awakening when I thought about that. I go, that is exactly who we need to be with God. Whoever that, and like you said, whatever that may be, is not someone. Religion will tell you how you need to have your relationship. That's where I disagree. Your relationship with God is your relationship. You can tap into that relationship if you want, and it's totally up to you. Much like an old story that I heard about, back when the electricity was coming into the country, and this lady, old widow, and they put the power poles by her house, and they made her hook up to power. And every night she only turned the lights on to light the candle. So then she could keep, and then in the morning, the same thing. And, here, and I feel that's the way our relationship is with God, or our God, or your God, whoever, the spiritual being that you want to, that you may or may not exist in faith in your life, is that the electricity is there. You can tap into it. You can turn the light on just to light the candle, or you can turn the power on all day long. And I think that that's where everybody misses out, back to life, not religion. I hate to sidetrack onto religion, but I feel like that's just the way I live life, is that life is there to plug into. And if you don't plug into it, if you don't plug into the outlet that's in the wall that has the power, that's your fault. That's not anyone else's fault. And I've always lived my life to plug into the outlet.
No, I can see that. And I don't want to leave this unsaid, man. What you just said was super impactful, beautiful, and something that I can really, really relate to. I wish I would have heard that 20 years ago, because I think that's been, or maybe 30 or 40 years ago, because I think that's always been my struggle, is confusing religion with God and putting them both, and I put them both in the same.
Everyone does. I feel like everyone does. I feel like you're not alone, Jerry. I feel like, and like I said, that was my reason for being a pastor, was to just explain someone to what I feel is that I feel that's God. I feel that's why, I mean, we have this picture of God, this ogre in the clouds that just always, because bad things happen to good people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the other big stumbling block with so many people. It's like, well, no, that's God didn't, there's nothing says that bad things aren't going to happen to good people, because they do. And so there's another stumbling block. People don't have a concept of if there's a God, why would he allow it? Well, I mean, it's still the world it's still the world that we live in, and we can't change that. And but the relationship that you can have is totally dependent on you. It isn't dependent on a book that tells you how your relationship should be.
It's more. It seems like it's more of a guiding star, or a true north for you know, however it is that you relate to God, it's something more. Oh, it seems like it's so personal that is the one thing that can guide us, because most of us know the difference between right and wrong.
Yep.
But sometimes we just need something else to just guide us through that path, because we choose wrong a lot of the times. When
That's human nature. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's the ego, there's greed,
Yep.
there's
Yep.
all kinds of things involved, right?
Yeah, one of my probably my best friend here in Alaska, just spent so much time with him. He's also a guide, hunterman, fisherman, and just a fantastic human being. And we spent so much time together in an airplane. We've done research for the state of Alaska. We do wolf counting. We count how many wolves we do out. We go through the state. The state of Alaska is wants to know the numbers of the wolves in different areas, and we've spent just literally 1,000 hours in an airplane together. So during that time, we talk a lot. Complete atheist. And I'll never forget, we were having this conversation, and I said, well, I said, here's the difference. I said, between me and you, I said, you know, you could be an atheist, and I don't, that's fine. I said, I'm obviously not, because of my and really not because of my upbringing, just because of my relationship with something that is there. That's why we call it faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. That's my definition of faith. And I said, but you, as an atheist, talking to my friend, I says, you have greater faith than me. I says, I really don't have the faith you have. He says, what do you mean? I says, you have faith that from nothing came something. I says, my faith is really, really bad, because I at least believe that there's an invisible being that made this.
Yep.
I says, but you actually have much stronger faith than me, because from a spark, and then the only time in the history of the world that actually something went reverse, and then after that everything dies. I says, I can't imagine having that kind of faith. You blow me away.
Well, and
We
that's
didn't
what
talk. We
that's-
didn't talk for
that's-
another 5 minutes.
well, well, that's the light that I see in you, is the fact that you can have those discussions with anybody, and you can be friends with anybody, and
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
I find you to be one person that doesn't have that typical religious judgment for others,
Never.
because
And
we're all
it's
flawed.
see, that's where hypocrisy comes into it. As soon as I cast judgment, I'm a hypocrite, right? And that's the other reason that keeps people from believing in God, or even accepting that God exists, is because the hypocrisy. They think, oh, they look at religion, because the religion part of it is total hypocrisy. They look at the Catholic Church, they look at all these Buddhism, Muslim, doesn't matter what religion you want to pick, and they say, well, look at the hypocrisy here. Again, that's not in a relationship. That's religion.
How can we look down at another human being because they're on a different path?
Exactly.
You
Total
know,
hypocrisy. You can't do
total
that.
hypocrisy.
And like I said, I'm never going to tell anyone what their relationship with
Hey, Ron,
God
much
or God
much
should be.
much less go to war with that other human being,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah. It's
I
it's a
never thought that today's fireside chat was going to go in that direction. I would have never
no, me neither.
even guessed, man. No, that's why truly this is just a moment to hang with you at a deeper level, and we got to hang at my house, because at my house we had the distractions of not only the people but the Yorkies running around and interrupting the conversation, and the insanity that is our lives, So
You actually came up in a conversation yesterday. I was with my hairdresser. It's not a barber. I go to the lady, and this girl, 27 years old, went to school with my kids, a year or two younger. And she's just this amazing human being. Another airplane. Hold on.
I love that.
And and she's going through a tough time. She's 27. So, the muscle memory isn't there that we've talked about. And I said, Taylor, she lost her father 2 years ago with COVID. He was an Alaska Airlines pilot, 52 years old, extreme person of health. For some reason, he died. He died in the hospital. And they thought, and so at 27, that's hard for at that 25 at the time, 2 years ago, for a 25-year-old to lose their dad. And I said to her, and she's been cutting my hair now for, I think, 4 years. And I said to her, and I did not know her dad. My wife did, CJ. She's a flight attendant for Alaska Airlines, and she flew with Eric, her dad. And I said, just so you know, I said, if I can do anything, Taylor, I said, I want you to know that I'm here. Like I would say to anyone, like you much would say to anyone. And she says, I might take you up on that sometime. She says, if I need fatherly advice, I might ask you. So she did yesterday, and she's been sharing. She went through a relationship. It was bad. She got out of it. And I keep encouraging her not to be back into a bad relationship again. She's a beautiful human being. I says, at 27, Taylor, you don't understand. Like, the world is your oyster. Don't, just giving advice that a father would. And I says, you asked me, and I go, your dad would be really pissed if you were going back into a stupid relationship. I said, so I'm going to hang you on this one. And I said, if you need to get away, I totally volunteered your little apartment for a day or two. That's how you came up. I says, I know. I says, he's a great guy. I go, I says, sometimes in life, you have to just go. And she's a hairstylist. She doesn't have a lot of money, right? And I go, you need to go to Napa Valley and meet my friend Jerry and Susan. And I says, they'll be glad to let you stay at their little place for a day or two. And I says, you need to sometimes get out of, we live in a small community here. But anyways, that's how you came up yesterday. And you know what? I felt so at liberty. And I'm just telling you now, but I felt so at liberty with you and our relationship, because much the same, I have a place, and I know, what, if someone needed to come here, just like my friends came from North Dakota. I haven't even met his wife, never met her, but they stayed here for 2 days. That's how we need to be with what we have, going back to holding on to something so tight that when it's taken away, it hurts. But if you hold on to it loosely, it doesn't hurt. And what we have to give and what we have to offer people in life. I met a guy on the airplane coming back from Seattle yesterday on Sunday. I said, I said, what do you do? I hate to put the earbuds in the airplane. Everyone, as soon as they sit down, earbuds go in. Our social media has destroyed our socialism. We can't be social. We have no social. Society is totally ruined from social media, because we want to look at something on a phone and shut the world around us out. Well, I always wait to put in my earbuds and never put them in right away, because there's someone beside me that might be like you. I might meet on the Pacific Crest Trail, our trail along the way. And this guy, he finally, he had a nap. He woke up and he started talking. And I said, what do you do? He says, I'm an entertainer. I go, you're an entertainer? Yeah. I says, what do you do? He says, I'm a comedian. I go, I've never met an entertainer. I've never met a comedian. I go, what do you do? He says, I perform on the cruise ships. I go, really? It blew me away. I just totally something I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
And I says, you know what? I says, have you ever got to experience Alaska? He says, no. He says, I get here. He says, they send me back. I fly back. I'm going back to New York, born and raised New York City. And he says, I'm going back to New York City to spend 5 days. And we got talking, and he says, I've been through a divorce. And I go, how recent? He goes, well, pretty recent. And I go, I says, I've been through a divorce. And I says, I'm going to tell you that it was the most lonely time of my life. My friends say they want to be there, but they won't. But I says, I'm bending my ear to you right now to tell me about your divorce. Blew him away. Yeah. And I says, you ever come back to Alaska to experience Alaska? You get a ride in my airplane. Yeah. But that's life, right? It's the greatest joy of living, is giving and not receiving. And it's so cool. It's such a awesome piece. And I just want to say to anyone that might be listening to this stupid thing today, between me and you talking, if you have an opportunity to give, just try it. It's incredible. because the feeling of giving is so much better than receiving. I mean, I don't even want anyone to give me a birthday card or say happy. I mean, but man, I love to give back. It's the greatest feeling in life.
It's the best thing you can do for yourself and your soul.
It is.
I
Absolutely.
I have to tell you that it didn't go unheard, how you see us and how you felt comfortable saying that. That's really cool, man. That's really
I did. I just knew it. I knew, like, this guy
Yeah.
and his wife are so genuine that, here's a 27-year-old girl who is
Yeah.
as beautiful on the outside as she is on the inside. Gorgeous person.
Just
And
want
I
to-
said, man, I go, sometimes you just need to step back and see a different side. And I think with us visiting you and staying at your place, what I saw in you guys was it was incredible. It was so cool to see that and to get to know you on a different level and to see that you're genuine also. It's just it's great. It's a great relationship.
That's really cool, man. So what are we gonna do next? I know I want to go visit you in June. So that's sort of quasi in the books loosely for June, because I'll just stay in touch with you and we'll make it work.
Yeah.
Whatever will work for you.
Anytime, but yeah, but you
It'll be
can come
whatever works
anytime.
for you and CJ, because we want to hang out with
The
you.
door's always open, man.
Vice versa. You know that now there's a place for you to there's a place
Yeah.
for you to come to Napa, man, and there's so many more
Oh,
things
man.
that we haven't done that we can do, so that's going to be amazing. And then we can,
I think one thing that stuck out to CJ and I when
Go
we were
ahead.
there was the culture between Alaska and Napa Valley is polar opposites.
apples and oranges, huh?
Apples and oranges, polar opposites. And you kept saying, what do you guys want to do? What do you guys want to do? And we didn't want to do anything. It's just because I think the Alaska lifestyle is much more relaxed than the I-5 corridor that happens all the way up and down the West Coast. And it was just enjoyable to go on a hike.
Yeah, so let me embellish on that a little bit. And especially sometimes my family listens to these, so I hope some of them get to hear this, because when my family comes over, they're coming to see me, but there's so much marketing that's done around Napa that everybody wants to experience the wine tasting, the eating, all that, which is wonderful. If that's what you're going to come to do, it's a lot of fun. So we're always kind of prepared with an agenda for anybody that's going to tour Napa, and here are the must-sees if you're a tourist coming to see Napa, and we pretty much have it dialed. We don't want to overwhelm them with too many things to see, because there's ways. I mean, Napa, I don't know if we're up to 600 wineries now. I mean, it's an insane amount of wineries. I think it's 400 restaurants. It's insane. So we kind of know how to keep them focused to where they see just enough and don't get so overwhelmed that they don't remember anything. So, but what was incredibly different, and Susan and I, it took us about 5 or 6 hours to get calibrated with you guys, because we kept trying to say, okay, we kept trying to fish for what you guys wanted to do and what you wanted to do. And I remember at one point I turned to Susan, I said, Susan, I think they just want to hang out with us. I really don't think going out to a restaurant and having a chef make food for them that they don't even know how it's being prepared or if it's healthy or unhealthy. I think they like that we're eating healthy, and I think they can, I'm not eating, unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know how to say that, but you caught fish that was off the charts, and you brought said fish. Not only brought said fish, you cooked said fish for us. I mean, a smorgasbord of fish. So my family was there just eating multiple varieties of Alaskan fish, not only caught by you, cooked by you in different forms. And it was the most beautiful expression of generosity I've seen. Somebody that's coming over to Napa Valley, because usually coming to Napa Valley is going out, and Susan and I, I'm running a business, I'm doing other things. Susan's still very, very involved in real estate sales. She's super busy. She's taking care of my clients, her clients, everybody. And we just thought, okay, this is going to be the same old. This was the most polar opposite as Alaska is. Was your visit to Napa, and it was probably one of the most rewarding experiences we've had with somebody else to share space together.
Thank you. That I felt the same, because really thank you for saying that, Jerry, because it was great. We had it and I figured out, one of the smaller things that I figured out in life is that you eat healthy and I eat healthy. We have different diets, but we eat healthy.
Yeah.
And I finally come to the conclusion just in the last month or so. I said, because everyone likes to go out to dinner. You don't want to cook, so you're just letting someone else cook for you. But I told CJ, I go, every time we go out to dinner, I could have cooked a better meal. And it would not cost $250. It would not cost $250. So that's what I felt about going to. I go, no, I don't want to even be awkward. That who's going to get the bill? Who's going to do this? Guess what? We're going to make fish here tonight, and it was awesome. And I'm sorry, but I don't think there's any restaurant in Napa Valley that cook it any better. They might cook it as good, but I don't think they can cook it any better. So it's just such a pleasure to cook for someone. It was an awesome pleasure. Just say, you know what? I got this. We got fish. I brought it down. I caught it, and yes, as you said, I cooked it also. But that's back to the point, I think, of our whole meeting here today. How much better is it to give than to receive? That's life.
You're the only reason my neighbor. I've been neighbors with the same person for years, and
they never came. They never came to visit.
For dinner. Never visited each other.
No,
and because he gifted me. In the last year, he's gifted me Alaskan halibut that he had brought from Alaska. And how fun was it that you and I could knock on his door and say, hey, we're going to repay your generosity with fish from Alaska, caught by the fishermen and cooked by the fishermen. And these people who are in their 80s came over and had probably an amazing, they were laughing. Then we find out that my neighbor, who's in her 80s, was Miss Washington.
Yeah.
Miss Washington. She's a beautiful woman, you can tell.
Yeah.
The state of Washington? What the fuck?
Yeah, it's 60 years ago.
60 years ago, she was Miss State of Washington.
It's crazy. It's just, but like I said, that's it, right? That's it. It's inviting someone into your space where most people feel really uncomfortable. And that's the dichotomy that's different between Alaskan and anywhere in the lower 48, not just California, not West Coast, and not just East Coast. In the whole lower 48 is, I moved here in 1999. Quick story. I moved here in 99 with my family, and I'm building my house. I've had a house. I'm building a log home by myself. It was a very big undertaking but when you're 34, it's okay. You can do anything. The world is, and anyways, I built the house, doing all this, and I'm right in the middle. Winter comes fast. It comes really fast here. It's just like you got to have a roof on, and my money is being spent really rapidly, under budgeted for everything, like of course everyone does. And I'm in the middle of this. I'm there for 2 weeks, and this truck pulls in. We're in the middle where I think I'm putting the flooring on or something. And this truck just pulls in my driveway. And my wife and I, we're very, very cautious. This is okay. Is it the Mormons coming to visit? Is it the Jehovah's Witness? Like, who is coming to visit right now? Because this is weird, right? No one just in your normal way of life, no one they came out and they said, oh, welcome to the neighborhood. Well, there's only like 10 neighbors. This is back 20 years ago. There wasn't very many on the lake. They said, you guys want to come over for dinner tonight? I'm like, my wife and I looked at us, and I, kind of think I got a thing, and I go, I guess we don't have a thing. I go, maybe we will. And we for the next 4 hours, we're anticipating what they're going to sell us. We're anticipating something's wrong. It was the coolest thing. They were just Alaskans, man. They invited us over. I've never met them a day in my life. They just lived down the lake, and they we went over for dinner and they played some music and we went home, and my wife and I looked at each other and I says, I know on the East Coast, very pretentious East Coast that I grew up on. I go, that does never happen, ever. No one drives into your driveway and says, "Hey, come over to our house for dinner. I've never met you." Anyways, that is really truthfully how everyone in Alaska is. That's the dichotomy, the difference between the lower 48 and everybody that comes here the first year. Very few people are from here. And our first Christmas, we had 3 or 4 invites to come to Christmas dinner. No one invites into our that's our space, right? Christmas dinner, at Thanksgiving dinner, that's our space. And especially, but in Alaska, no one has family. And they knew we didn't have family. We knew we couldn't go back for Christmas. We were building big expense to take a family back east for Christmas. Invite us over for Christmas dinner. And that is who Alaskans are. And so it's when you leave Alaska and we see the Napa Valley stuff, well, very cool. Don't get me wrong, I'd love to go to a winery, but someone, like I told you, I said, I taste wine at home. I don't need to go to Napa to taste wine.
Yeah,
Anyways, I think the greenery, I think it's a beautiful, and CJ, my wife and I want to come back. We want to just use you as a base and hang out and maybe go to Yosemite one time.
Well, I was just going to say Yosemite would be a for sure thing for all of us to do together.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
to do some hiking for a day hikes,
Absolutely.
And but the hospitality in Alaska is really, really, it's incredible.
Yeah.
And that's why I fit in, because it's my hospitality. But I think for so many people to get in your personal space, it's really hard. And you do a great job of that, because that's what you did to us, is you opened up your personal space, and we took advantage of it. We cooked dinner for you.
Well, I want to be clear though that that's not who we are. That's you. That's not that. It just doesn't work. It doesn't. It's like you say. There's more of a boundary, I think, here between us and other people and who we let in, and I think we're a lot more guarded.
Yeah.
I think I just have to give you all the credit for that, man. I think it's just just who you guys are, and it's just, yeah, it's who you were from the moment I met you, man. I just wanted you to be around, bro. That was it.
And likewise, it was an instant connection. On the trail, we had we met at the Mexican border, and
with helicopters wanting to,
helicopters looking us in the eye,
looking us in the eye. Yeah. Trying to see if we were smuggling.
Make sure I was good. I had blue eyes. For you, I don't know.
They might have sent me back. They wanted to send me back. You and Jerry were okay. Me and Ivan, not so much. Bro.
Oh, bro. Man, great conversation. Awesome. That's really cool.
This is really special. So the next one, I'm going to ask you to, I want to do maybe a round table with the 4 of us, with you, CJ, me, and Susan, and myself. And
okay,
maybe in the next month or so, when CJ's schedule lightens up, or I can work around CJ's schedule.
Yeah,
these are pre-recorded, but it'd be fun to do something that we can memorialize, and it's for us. It's really for us, and whoever gets a little something from it, I think that's wonderful.
Absolutely. But yeah, you're right. It's a very selfish thing.
It's a selfish thing, man. This is really for us, bro. This is it's a lot of fun for me. I hope it was okay for you.
Oh man, that's a great time. I really enjoyed it. No, absolutely. It's really it's a great thing to the conversation is, it's great to have these kinds of conversations. And that's like I said, man, sitting down with 2 people, there's no I can't sit down with another person in the world that have this same camaraderie. It's a different feel, and that's what makes every one of us unique. And when you meld relationships together, it becomes a stronger force, and we get to do better for the society around us. And I think that is totally what social media has taken. I just I'm on Facebook, but I don't do a lot. I do little. I look at Instagram now and then, but it is amazing how social media has destroyed our society in our social aspect of
I would agree.
communicating with each other. I mean, it doesn't matter what restaurant you go to. There's a family of 4, everyone's on their phone. I want to take the phones, I want to throw them right in the
Yeah.
freaking lake. I told CJ, I said, if I had a family today, growing up today, when my kids grew up, they didn't have phones. I didn't have to worry about it. There's no way that I would allow my kids to bring their phone into a restaurant. Every phone, mine, yours, they're staying in the car.
Yeah.
I mean, but it has ruined the conversation because no one knows how to have a conversation like you and I are having. This is muscle memory.
It comes easy to us, but for kids, if there's younger people that get to watch something like this, is how do you practice dialogue? Because you see that you know, you go to the register at a store and all that, and the person on the other side has very little to nothing for you. And some of the people who are on the other side who are outgoing have told me, yeah, a lot of the customers have nothing for me. There's just no.
Same. Yeah, exactly. No, I agree. That's totally yep, 100%.
Yeah. And the fact of the matter is, we need that connection to survive, even as a species. We need that.
We do. Absolutely.
Oh, bro, I can't wait to see you again, man.
Yeah. Hey, you don't need to wait till next June, man. It's, you know, there's always something in Alaska. You can just get on an airplane. You know, that flight we took, it comes the same way this direction.
I think that was, fuck you, man. That was amazing that you said that. What? That's true. That's so good. Yeah, you're right, bro. I don't have to freaking wait till June.
Every day.
Oh
It happens every day during the summer. It's direct SFO to ANC. It's that quick. It's that easy.
You know what?
It was only 5 hours. It was 4.5 hours. That's nothing. I mean,
I'm not gonna wait. I'm not gonna wait. I'm gonna I'm gonna book
just jump on
something.
a plane.
I'm gonna book something before Christmas.
Yeah.
Because then what you guys can do is then maybe you'll book something in January or February, and then we'll book, you know, you probably want to get out of there during those times. So maybe you get out a little.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. We'll definitely come to, oh, we hate, yeah, I love Alaska, but man, there's 2 or 3 months that I'm ready to get out.
So
for a day
yeah,
or two or
so
three or
let's
four.
make it
Yeah.
where you get out during those times. I love it. You know, we'll do the Maui thing. Hopefully now with this fire in Maui, I don't know if our October thing, but
I don't know what I'll have to take a look. I didn't know. I had no idea. I didn't see it on the news at all. I'm sorry. I don't watch a lot of news, but I didn't see that at all. That's crazy. And if it's in Kihei, or you don't know where
I don't know where it started. I don't know where it started. I'm gonna dig in deeper when we get off. But man, in good old Ron Payne fashion, you just called me out and you said you don't have to wait that long. That was amazing. Quite a ninja move, man. That was really good. Because you know, I love realizations like that. Like, wow, I'm the only thing getting in the way of that. It's not you, it's me.
No, it's right.
No, let's go. Shoot, I have a surprise plan for Susan for her birthday in September. We have the Maui trip that you've known about for October. As long as that's okay, we'll go, and maybe right after that we'll just head over your way. And I don't care if it's dark. We're just gonna hang out.
Doesn't
with you.
matter. Just come visit.
Don't
Come
matter.
hang out, man. Just come hang out. That's all.
That'd be amazing. All right, bro. Thank you so
Hey,
much.
buddy.
You were here.
Yep.
I'll give you a hug.
I would too. Right on, pal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.